It is said that life is the greatest story. Now, I will confess that I don't find my life to be particularly interesting, but perhaps you all will. And I think that since I am the teller of the tales, it only makes sense that you all should get to know a little bit more about me. So, without further ado, I'd like to tell you all the story of my life. My life began with darkness, just blackness all around. And then all at once, ideas began to form in my mind. Ideas like, I am here, and, I really should remember this moment for later so that I can tell it to people, which thankfully I did. And then a bunch of images began to flash through my mind. Images of myself as a baby, being pushed around in the stroller, being held in my mother's arms. And then, all at once, the whole world was around me, and I was standing on the top of a hill, looking down at a tree. I was wearing a blue jacket, and the wind was blowing in my hair, and I stood there for a moment, and then I walked inside the house, and I saw my sister, Corey, sitting on the windowsill. So I suppose my sister was the first person that I ever met. Anyways, I couldn't say that I had a particularly magical childhood. I wasn't like these kids in the stories of the Fireside Tales who can bring their toy soldiers to life or who can teleport. I didn't have any powers. There was one moment in my life, I would say, that was magical. I was taking a walk down through the woods with my dog Flash, and as I went by the river, I saw this brown speck on the other side, and I couldn't tell what it was, whether it was a rock or whether it was something else. So I picked up a stick and, just jokingly, threw it across the river, thinking that I couldn't possibly hit the thing, and that even if I did, it probably wasn't anything. But as the stick soared through the air, it hit the object, and all at once, the object spread out its wings and flew up into the sky and straight into the sun, and then landed splat right down into the river. And then it began honking at me, and I realized that it was a goose, and it seemed a little angry that I had disturbed it from its nap. Anyways, I walked away from this moment realizing how things that seem like they are not moving, that don't have any mind, can actually be much more alive than people realize. Anyways, growing up as a kid, I was very much, my parents and my family were really the people that made me the person that I am today. My father taught me courage, my mother taught me creativity, and I would say that my sister taught me energy. Well, as a kid, I will confess that I was a little bit mischievous. I was always putting whoopee cushions on people's chairs, and I was always causing fights on the schoolyard. But there was also a very creative side to me. I loved to tell stories, and I loved to hear stories. And I read all sorts of books, from The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, to Treasure Island, to The Jungle Book, to Sherlock Holmes. And as I grew up, I had an obsession with figuring out the difference between a true story and a false story. And in fact, I got so good at this that it's one of the main reasons why I've become a member of the Fireside Tales organizations. I also had a little bit of an obsession with the Grim Reaper. I was constantly studying death, and that's another reason why I was chosen for the Fireside Tales, and I'm actually considered an agent of death here, because there are few human beings alive in this world today who know more about death than I do. Anyways, as I grew up as a teenager, I was a little bit awkward. I didn't know how to talk to people, a bit shy. But I think that the moments of my life that I remember the most, the ones that I treasure the most, were my high school years. I got into my schoolwork a lot more, and the truth of the matter was I was trying to impress the girls a lot of the times in school. I didn't ever succeed, but I was trying. Anyways, I liked science and history. I liked to read stuff about Genghis Khan and dinosaurs. But I never actually got good grades in school. I almost failed out numerous times. I never discovered why, because I really was trying my absolute best to get good grades, but I guess it's just a mystery that will have to be left for the Fireside Tales. Anyways, growing up, I also liked drama. I was in many plays, from Alice in Wonderland, Les Miserables. I think I starred in School for Scandal. And I also loved exercise. I loved to run, especially. I was in the cross-country team, and I used to run for miles all around, 10 or 11. It was quite crazy. I don't know what was wrong with me back then. But I was good friends with a lot of the kids at Southern. I suppose if you could sum up our relationship, I was sort of like Andy Griffin, and the other kids were sort of like Barney Fife, or like Gomer Pyle, or Goober, or maybe Aunt Bee, or Opie. And I tell you all, they were the silliest and most foolish group of people I have ever met. They were always getting themselves into these harebrained situations, and I would have to come in level-handed Andy Griffin and say, you know, you've got to, just teaching them life lessons, basically. And, you know, also sometimes they would often feel downtrodden. They were very sensitive, and you didn't want to say anything bad to them. So I would come in and I'd try to make them feel better about themselves. Anyways, that's how I spent most of my time at Southern High. Well, eventually I decided to move off. I wanted to find my place in the world, and with my dog, Maggie, I headed out. I went to Frostburg College, and I decided to start looking for a job. So I sent out an application to the Fireside Tales, and I was very much surprised when they sent me a response back. And so I was taken under the nose of Herbert Billington, and he took me under his wing, and I worked with him for a while, and finally I was given the promotion of Master of the Fireside Tales Library, which is where I am today. And it is a great honor to be doing this job that so many people have wanted to do, and to be working with such great places as the White House, the government, NASA, and some other organizations which I cannot tell you about under pain of death. But it is a great honor, and you know, I'd like to keep going with this story, but I'm afraid that's about where it stops. There's still many more adventures waiting to be had, many more tales to be told, but I guess for now all we can do is wait to see what the next chapter brings.